folks, welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. Got a lot to talk about today. First off, maybe we will see indictments for James Clapper and Comey and John Brennan. Maybe we will. John Ratcliffe, the director of the CIA, says that what he has referred to the Department of Justice, along with Tulsi Gabbard, should end in indictments for those people. I will be surprised if that happens. I've been openly telling you. I don't think we're going to see it, but maybe. I'm more hopeful now than I was before. We're going to talk about that a little bit. President Trump's trade deals. Holy macaroni. This guy lighting it on fire, goes overseas to Scotland, signs up the European Union, and what could be, in fact, not what could be, what is the largest trade deal in American history. But I want to start today with the visa debate, the EB-5 visa. This is foreign investments coming in. If you put up $1 million and employ 10 or so people, you can get a path to a green card and come in here and live and work in the United States. Versus President Trump's $5 million gold card. A lot of talk that they want to do away with the EB-5. I say this. Both programs sound fabulous. Do the $5 million gold card and keep the EB-5 program, which has been so successful to just funnel foreign investment into America at a very, very, very local level, okay? And that's what I love about the EB-5 program. So I don't want it to go away, and I love President Trump's gold card idea. Combine the two. So we're going to talk about that today on Stinchfield. But before we get to all of that, I want to remind you about my friends over at Colonial Metals Group. We know the BRICS nations are waging a literal Pearl Harbor on the American dollar. They are trying to sink the dollar. So far, they've been unsuccessful. As we move to these digital currencies, we know that digital currencies, things can happen. And when it goes bad, it goes really bad. We know the stock market's been unpredictable. It's been going up. But guess what else has been going up right along with it? Gold. And when the stock market tanks, gold usually continues to go up because it is a chaos hedge. It is an inflation hedge. It is a hedge to a weaker dollar. So again, gold is a great portfolio protection maneuver. The guys that I trust are over at Colonial Metals Group. A lot of companies come to me and say, hey, will you pitch my gold company? Colonial Metals Group, I've vetted them. I use them. I like them. They're all really good guys, and I know them personally. Colonial Metals Group, 800-458-7356. That's 800-458-7356. You can use the QR code on your screen to go right to the website to sign up for a free gold guide. freegoldguide.com/Grant is the website. freegoldguide.com/Grant. Get that free gold guide. Give you everything you need to know about turning an existing IRA or 401k into a gold or precious metals IRA or 401k. Take the steps necessary to protect your portfolio that you work so hard for. Gold is a great option. Colonial Metals Group can help you. All right, let's get the show started, folks. Hold on, I got to do away with this first. And let's go.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, welcome, everybody. You know, it's amazing to me, but you have to see what is going on the border firsthand. It is virtually, folks, shut down. The border is more secure now than it ever has been in the history of the United States. In fact, I think June 28th, we had 128 encounters in one day. That's the lowest number of encounters for the entire southern border than we've ever had in the history of the United States. This is all due in part to President Trump. So what did Joe Biden do? Joe Biden imported chaos to America, poverty to America. He imported uneducated people to America, and sadly, he imported criminals to America. I am the first to acknowledge that the United States is a nation of immigrants, but let's be importing the right immigrants. So when President Trump says, I want a $5 million gold card that's a pathway to citizenship, well, you know that's going to be the right type of person you want coming here. Someone with lots of money is going to invest in America, believes in the economy here, believes in capitalism, believes in the system. Those people need to be vetted. On a little bit of a lower level, you've got the EB-5 visa applicants. So the EB-5 visa is you invest about $1 million, you vow to employ about 10 people or more, and you get a green card to come as you bring foreign investment into America. This is a fabulous program. I've literally seen the EB-5 program work firsthand in rural areas, opportunity development zone areas where the investment's just even a little bit smaller. I think it's about 800,000 there. And you get on the ground investment locally for real jobs, small businesses that employ Americans. Why would you do one or the other when you can have both programs in place? You don't want to do away with the EB-5. And the EB-5 has been coming under fire, folks. There's a lot of sensationalistic news stories out there about the EB-5 program. I've done a lot of research now on this. I have not seen one instance where an EB-5 visa holder somehow committed some kind of heinous crime, what was a enemy of America coming in under the ruse of a foreign investor. I just haven't seen it. So I don't want to do away with EB-5. I'd love to expand EB-5, especially after 2022, when Congress got involved with the EB-5 program and made it stricter. Do you know the requirements for this? The background, the vetting are so intense, so stringent that you're only getting the good people here, which is why I can tell you I haven't seen any criminals come out of this program because they have now gotten it down, and hence there's a backlog. Now, again, foreign investment pushing American jobs. This is the America First mentality. This is exactly what President Trump wants to happen here in America. So again, I want to see President Trump's gold card go through, but I don't want to see the EB-5 program go away. That would be, in my opinion, the worst thing that could happen. So the reason I say this is because Howard Lutnick is talking about doing away with EB-5. That would not be good.
EB-5 program was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low-priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold, so they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens.
So I want to correct Howard Lutnick, and I think he's well-intentioned here. One, I'm not sure I believe that President Trump said do away with the EB-5. I think this is somebody wanting to do it their way and coming to the conclusion that, hey, we're going to throw out this other program and just do mine. And President Trump says, just make sure it works. That's what President Trump does. But the fact that it was filled with fraud, I will be honest with you, there were some fraudulent things that happened here. People were gaming the system. But when people were gaming the system, that's when Congress stepped in 2022, I believe it was. Congress steps in and overhauls the program, virtually eliminates the fraud or the ability to conduct fraud with it. And when you say a low-income way to do this, is $1 million a low bar? Look, $1 million is a lot of money. I feel like I'm how do I say this without sounding cocky? I feel like I'm a pretty wealthy guy. Like I do well. I'm probably in the top 3% of America, certainly not the top 1%, but probably the top 2 or 3% of America. I don't have $1 million laying around that I can just offer up to come in and get a visa someplace, put into business. You'd basically take all the cash I had on hand, all the stocks I had on hand, and virtually wipe it out. That's just not possible for a lot of people. $1 million is a high bar, and that's a decent investment. And it tells me that if you're going to put up $1 million, and he said a loan program, it's not a loan program. You're willing to invest your $1 million into the American economy. So if you're telling me you're willing to put your money where your mouth is, for the good of the American economy because you want to come here so badly, to me, that's the kind of person I want here. Somebody that wants to be here so badly and is willing to take a risk with their hard-earned capital at that ability to come here, and all the while you're helping American citizens. Folks, honestly, it doesn't get any better than that. So it attracts foreigners who wants to be here. You're channeling foreign investment into the U.S. economy in massive amounts, by the way. Here's the numbers. Between 2008 and 2008 and 2021, $37.4 billion have been infused in the American economy through the EB-5 program. And again, this at a zero cost to the American taxpayer. So, Mr. President, if you're listening to me, Howard Lutnick, if you're listening to me, let's take your Trump gold card. Let's put it into action. Let's get some real wealthy investors. But let's expand the EB-5 program. Keep it going. And let's keep getting these small business investors because, after all, that's the heartbeat of America is small business. And let's expand them. And we get the best of both worlds. And in the end, who wins? America wins at no cost to the American taxpayer. We can have both the EB-5 and the Trump gold card. Let's get it done. And that's the bottom line, because Grant Stinchfield said so. All right. Let me tell you, folks, a little bit about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. I use Patriot Mobile for the service on my phone. I've got two networks on here. I've got AT&T and T-Mobile on this phone. So that means I've got two numbers, one which is great for business, by the way. Two, no matter what city I go to, I always have bars. If one's not great in one city, one's great in the other city, I'm looking good like it should. So I thank Patriot Mobile for that. Beyond that, 100% U.S.-based customer service, a performance guarantee like none other. They have all of the programs in place that are going to push conservative thinking, thought, the freedom, the values that we believe in far and wide across America. I believe in a parallel economy. I believe in supporting companies that support the things we believe in. Patriot Mobile is one of those companies. They are fabulous. If you have not made the switch, I'm going to tell you again, there's no excuse. You're on the network that you want to be on, yet you're not paying the woke left. And the big three cell phone companies are funding the woke agenda. So make the switch today. Start helping push the country in the right direction, and know and have a peace of mind that you're on the official provider, mobile phone service provider of Stinchfield's Army. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. Use the promo code Grant for a free month service. PatriotMobile.com/Grant, or just call them at 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT, and tell them that Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right. So we're talking about foreign investment. Well, one of the other things you got to talk about is trade deals. And when you think about the trade deals that President Trump made over the weekend, I'm telling you, this is the deal maker in chief. So I wrote down the numbers here. I can let President Trump tell them to you, though. $600 billion on top of the investment that the European Union is already making in the United States. $750 billion they have pledged to buy American energy. This takes China and Russia out of the picture, by the way, with this commitment. Military equipment they're going to buy from the United States. Nobody makes it better than us. Zero tariffs for American goods going in, and I believe we're at a 15% tariff for the European Union coming into the United States. Listen to President Trump.
So we're going to do the following. The European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. You know what that amount of money is. It's very substantial, but they're going to invest an additional $600 billion. they're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff. So that's a very big factor. Opening up their countries, all of the countries will be opened up to trade with the United States at zero tariff. And they're agreeing to purchase a vast amount of military equipment. We don't know what that number is, but it's the good news is we make the best military equipment in the world, so sort of you have to do that. I mean, until somebody tops us, which is not going to happen. We're way ahead of every other country in terms of the quality of the military equipment. You saw that recently in Iran, and you see that, unfortunately, you see that often for all the wrong reasons, right? So those things are 750 billion, 600 billion, opening up the country. We are agreeing that the tariff straight across for automobiles and everything else will be a straight across tariff of 15%. So we have a tariff of 15%. We have the opening up of all of the European countries, which I think I could say were essentially closed. I mean, you weren't exactly taking our autos, you weren't exactly taking our agriculture, and then you would have smaller things, but for the most part, it was closed. And now it's open. It's open for our companies to go in and do a good job with it. I think you'll like them. I think you'll like it. And we will, very importantly, they'll be investing a lot of money, but the military is a big number, but that's one number we're not determining. It's going to be whatever it is, but they're going to be purchasing hundreds of billions of dollars worth of military equipment. They're very important. They're going to purchase $750 billion worth of energy. So that's going to be great. And $600 billion worth of investments into the United States over and above what they have. So, and I think that basically concludes the deal. I mean, those are the main factors. I don't think there are too many other factors, other than we're going to get along great. And we have a great relationship now with NATO, which is largely the same. I mean, not exactly, but pretty close, right? Largely. And with NATO, as you know, they're going up to 5% from 2%. And the relationship is very strong.
It's strong because of President Trump. President Trump has literally stopped so many wars from happening. He's finally getting everybody to pay their fair share. The reason we have a good relationship with NATO now is, as he said, from 2% GDP to 5% GDP. The United States doesn't have to fund the defense of Europe and all our allies, which is what was virtually happening. So this idea that they're going to buy $750 billion worth of energy from the United States, $600 billion on top of current investment into the United States, military equipment purchases, all of this is set to get the American economy to take off like a rocket ship. And don't forget, we have tariffs on them. They have no tariffs on us. Why? Because the American marketplace is the greatest marketplace in the world. And so we get a premium on that. You got to pay to be a part of that. Yes, Europe is a great marketplace for American companies, but it's not as good as America. So you want American goods, you're going to have to pay for them. And so that's what's going to happen. And if you want to send money into America, guess what? Send goods into America, guess what? You're going to have to pay to do it. That's the 15% tariff. Great stuff. So I'm proud of President Trump for this. She was so happy as well, talking about this deal that was signed of the European Union.
So I think we should not forget where we would have been on the 1st of August. We would have been at 30%. And it would have been much more difficult to get down now to the 15%. 15% is certainly a challenge for some. But we should not forget it keeps us the access to the American market. And what we are also doing intensively is diversifying to other regions of the world. And this opens up new markets, potential new markets. Indonesia, for example, is huge. It's 250 million people.
So you see what I mean by saying this is a win for everyone. When President Trump goes into the Oval Office as a businessman, Do you see now how he's looking at getting America back on track as a businessman? How do you do it? You've got to increase your output here in the United States so we can send goods overseas, increase the amount of money our companies are making here. By the way, that's going to increase tax revenue just alone on increasing the profitability of American companies in the United States. Now think about the tariffs collected. It's expected we'll collect about $700 billion in tariffs every year. In just a few years, think of the trillions that will be made to go towards paying down our debt and deficit. Are the other presidents, Obama, George Bush, Clinton, are they looking at, I know Joe Biden's not looking at anything because he's out to lunch. Are they looking at Donald Trump and saying, wow, he had the stones, he had the balls to do this? Because remember, when he offered up his tariffs, that day of reckoning happened on the stock market. The stock market tanked big time. President Trump had the stones to stand there in the face of all that and not blink, knowing full well in his mind that it was going to come back. I don't think there's a man in America that would have been able to do that. The reason why the Bushes, the Bidens, the Obamas, the Clintons of the world didn't do this is because they didn't want to look bad. They were more concerned about their image. And quite frankly, I believe they were cowards. They were political cowards, not President Trump. His bravery in this is going to put America back on track. This is our trade representative on CNBC this morning.
It's an amazing thing for our country. For 70 years, we followed a trade policy that maybe at a certain time made sense, but ultimately the net result was other countries had higher tariffs and non-tariff barriers on the United States. We had a very open economy, and a lot of it resulted in offshoring of manufacturing and jobs to other countries. President Trump is now reversing that through these deals. We're essentially reaching settlements with countries that are good for them and good for us, where we get to keep some level of tariff on the country, but we also open their markets to our exports. And this is how you get rid of trade deficits. It's how you create a manufacturing boom. So these are obviously huge net positives for America and American workers.
It is. And I don't think anybody can argue that it isn't. And so this is the kind of thing that we voted for. It's the kind of thing that we wanted. And it's the kind of thing that nobody else could have gotten done. So again, and don't underestimate the ability to take Russia and China out of the equation. We did not want Europe running to Daddy Xi. We'd rather have them running to Daddy Trump, okay, for help. Going to Daddy Xi or Daddy Putin, no bueno. President Trump again in Europe.
Yeah, a ceasefire is possible, but you have to get it. You have to end it. You're talking about with Israel's. You're talking about there, because we have many ceasefires going on. The whole world is. If I weren't around, you'd have right now 6 major wars going on. India would be fighting with Pakistan. You see what we just did yesterday with 2 nations that we're trading with. And during the trade, I said, I'm not going to do any trade deal unless you guys settle your differences. And we got it settled in 24 hours. I mean, they just announced it was settled, which was a tremendous thing. But Serbia, Kosovo is another one. We have many hotspots that were at war. I think a very big one was India and Pakistan, because you're talking about 2 nuclear nations. That was a very big one. And we get help from the UK. The Prime Minister's helped. We have cases where we specifically need the help because somebody comes from here that you're aware of. And, you know, when you come from a country, you can do things. And I call up the Prime Minister, and all of a sudden, he's able to do things. True also with other presidents and prime ministers. But we've done it. Nobody's ever done what we've done. We have 6 different major if you take a look at Rwanda and the Congo, Republic of the Congo, they've been fighting for 31 years, 8 million people dead. It was going on. Nobody could go to that part of Africa. They were being killed. If to even walk there, you're being killed with machetes. And it was a violent situation. And I was able to, they liked Trump. They wanted to make a trade deal with Trump. They wanted us to take their rare earth. They want to give us their rare earth. And I got to know the leader of the Congo. I got to know both of them indirectly. And I called him. I said, let's end the war. I don't want anything until you end the war. And we ended the wars. You know, the foreign ministers came up 2 weeks ago, and the leaders are going to be coming very shortly to Washington, Rwanda and Congo. I mean, that's another one that we did. So we've done a lot. It's an honor to do it. It's not hard for me to do it. And I use, not in all cases, but I use a combination of knowing them a little bit, or in some cases, knowing them a lot.
So President Trump, again, winning on a foreign policy stage, a domestic stage, a trade stage, on a national security stage, on an immigration stage. You name it, he's winning on every stage. And yet the Democrats are still going, oh, boy, what a rough time Trump's had. Rough time on what is what I asked them. I can't tell you how many Democrats tell me, oh, your guy, boy, he's really having some trouble, isn't he? Having some trouble on what? Like, is it the mainstream media? My father, who is a Trump hater, I hate to say it. It really depresses me that he is. Says he's losing his support. I said, where do you get that from, losing his support? I don't hear that anywhere. I do radio in Los Angeles, for crying out loud. If I'd hear he was going to lose in support, I'd hear it in Los Angeles. I don't hear, oh, well, there was a poll that came out. Yeah, what, MSNBC poll? I said, I don't trust polls. I don't trust polls on my side. I don't trust polls on their side. I like to take the feel of the people, and I'm out there a lot with the people. Trump isn't losing any support. If anything, he's gaining support. Yet this is what the left does. All of this is victory after victory for President Trump, and I'm happy about it. Here's another. I'm waiting for the victories on the Obama and the Epstein stuff and all. I'm waiting for the victories. Cautiously optimistic. No, I can't even say I'm optimistic. I'm not optimistic at all. I've told you that. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not sure. But Dan Bongino came out and he dropped, I don't know. The Daily Beast call it a thirst trap. I call it a monster tease of what's to come. I'll read that to you in a second because it's an important tweet from the deputy director of the FBI, and we'll talk about it. But before I do, I want to tell you about my friends over at Energized Health. EnergizedHealth.com. This is about intracellular hydration. Get rid of your joint pain. Get rid of your brain fog. Get rid of your skin conditions. And here's the best part. Get rid of your visceral fat. Get rid of your body fat. All that junky fat around your organs will melt away on the Energized Health program. You will, in most cases, and the founder doesn't like me to say lose weight. He likes to say lose fat. But in most cases, you're going to lose weight. You're also going to build muscle. But many people who are grotesquely overweight need to lose all of that weight. Energized Health can help you. I lost 15 pounds. I wasn't grotesquely overweight, but I was overweight to a point where I wanted to tighten things up. I lose 15 pounds in 2 weeks. That's how potent this program is. No crazy diets, no crazy workouts, no crazy supplements. It's a science-backed protocol that gets you hydrated at a cellular level, and it works. EnergizedHealth.com. EnergizedHealth.com. Make sure you tell them that Grant Stinchfield sent you.
Grant.
My buddy Dan Bongino, the deputy director of the FBI,
Yep.
drops what could be a bombshell over the weekend. Or is it, as the Daily Beast calls it, a thirst trap?
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Don't talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Whatever you do.
I mean, I was fascinated by this post that he did because it's filled with teasers, but no real information.
Right. He's done it kind of like stuff like this before, hasn't he? Where it's coming sort of stuff.
Look, I think it's safe to say both Dan and Cash are upset the way the Epstein stuff's been handled, maybe the way they've been forced to handle things. We know they're not happy with the Attorney General, and they're not looking the greatest in all of this.
Right.
Is that safe to say?
Safe to say. And not necessarily maybe even on their own doing. It's just there were a lot of things that both of them promised outside of government work, and now that they're inside of government work, it's not what people thought they'd deliver.
Exactly. So he writes, I'm going to read it, okay? During my tenure here as the deputy director of the FBI, I've repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. But what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned.
It's crazy.
So is he talking about Epstein? Is he talking about the public corruption, meaning Comey, Clapper, Brennan?
The deep state, right.
My guess is it might be a little bit of all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
But,
and if you listen to Trump, he connected those two. Remember?
Yeah.
Saying that they were planting nuggets in the Epstein files.
So that could be the case. Quote, we are going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We are going to get all the answers we deserve. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at truth. Not my truth or your truth, but the truth.
It's a good line.
So this is a real teaser.
Mm-hmm.
It got a lot of conservatives, as you can imagine, excited. It got a lot of conservatives even more angry.
Right. Like it's just pushing us on, basically, throwing us a little bone.
What do you make of it?
I actually think that it's what it is, and that is the stuff that he's seeing does surprise him. I actually take it at face value. I think that he is surprised. I think we all would be surprised by the disgusting underbelly of our country that we don't know about. I do think, because I trust Dan Bongino, like you, I have met him before. I think that he's on the up and up. I'm not as close to him as you are, but I think he is a good person. I think he wants to do the right thing.
I agree with you. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no. And so that being said, I think that he is seeing stuff that he is going to continue to try to investigate, try to get the truth out there. And so I just take this at face value. I can't imagine what he's teasing, because we could make a whole list about the stuff he might be teasing. But I think it is what it is, and probably heavy on his heart. Look, a lot of times, even really good, well-intentioned people, you don't know what you don't know. And so you had Dan Bongino for years make a career for himself, make a living, get himself likes by talking about all of these things, the corruption, Jeffrey Epstein. He made a living based on the stuff that people tell him. And Grant, you know how that is. Everybody knows somebody and they want to come up and tell you about it. I know a guy who knew that something happened in the 2020 election, or I knew a guy who knows who's on Epstein's list. Everybody knows a guy. People tell you a lot of things. And sadly, I think some people report on them as truth, because that's what they have in their sphere. I think you open your eyes when you get it.
Of that,
no, I'm not saying he was. I'm just saying you only know what you don't know. You only know what you know, right? And then now you come into a world where you're learning even more, and it's got to shake you a bit, because we think we've got it all figured out, and then maybe you run into a whole bunch of stuff you don't know.
Now, here's one of the secrets, and I think, Jen, you subscribe by the same philosophy. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts or talk radio, because I don't want to get accused of stealing material from them. But, of course, I see clips of Dan. I think Dan was doing a lot of what I was doing. That's speculating based off of little bits of facts you may learn here or there. And then you speculate, you connect dots, and you come to a conclusion. And so now he's in there. His conclusion clearly had been that Epstein was a huge, huge case, and that it went to the core of what America is all about, and covering it up would be just horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that they could have so many people abusing women. But anyway, he gets in there when he says something like, the aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. Now, that's a guy who was a Secret Service agent. He was a New York City police officer.
He's seen a
before
lot.
that. He's been in the media. What could shock him to his core that I'm trying to think? There's not a lot that could shock me to my core after everything I've seen.
You know what is scary about that sentence, and maybe that's the most frightening statement that he makes in this, is what did we say last week? Or I think I made a comment of it. The stuff that we're hearing and now getting, evidence shown to us about what went on in 2016 with the Obama administration is not the first time that the deep state has acted, right? This is just the first time we now have actual proof. Think about in history where people could have had the thumb on the scale. Think about if you're Dan Bongino and you go in, and he loves America. I know that. We all love America, and we go in there and we go, whoa. Maybe some of the things that we thought we knew or that we thought we trusted about our country maybe just aren't the way it seems. I mean, you can't tell me that we haven't had bad actors in our government throughout history.
Well, I think he knew that going in.
But I think maybe when you see it and what, we don't even know what it could be. When you see it, that's tough.
I think what may be the most shocking to the core is the inability to do what you feel is right once you're in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I want everybody out there. There's a lot of people that DM me so upset with Dan and Cash and, call them all kinds of names and say they were. You have to understand what it's like now to go to work for an administration where you do not work for yourself. You're not a lone wolf coming into the FBI and then can do anything you want. Like, you got to run this up the chain. Now, whether we agree with what the higher command is telling them to do or not, I promise you, there is a part of that has been limiting what Dan and Cash can say or do. And if they say that the investigation is happening right now, I believe that it is.
Yeah.
And you had John Ratcliffe.
Gain by saying something's happening that isn't.
John Ratcliffe was just on with Maria Bartiromo. He's the CIA director. He basically said indictments are coming. He backed up the claim that the statute of limitations is not in effect because this conspiracy has been continuing all the way through today.
Right, that's what the argument is. In fact, we have it. Take a listen.
What I think I hear you saying is there is still an opportunity for indictments, potential prosecutions, accountability from those people who may have lied under oath, like John Brennan, James Comey, and perhaps Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's why I've made the referrals that I have. DNI Gabbard has made referrals, and why we're going to continue to share the intelligence that would support the ability of our Department of Justice to make bring fair and just claims against those who have perpetrated this hoax against the American people and this stain on our country.
So that's the director of the CIA. Remember, he was in intelligence for President Trump in the first term.
Mm-hmm.
He then admits later in the interview that he did see some of John Brennan's notes. And whether they were made public or not, I don't know whether they didn't get the publicity or whether they were. You had a lot of people inside the Trump administration fighting to keep this secret. So what I would like to do, Jen, is talk about who inside the Trump administration that we really need to hold accountable just as much as we need to hold accountable Comey, Brennan,
First Trump
and
administration.
Clapper.
That's right.
So when you talk about those people who need to be held accountable here, you have all of them: Comey, Clapper, Brennan, and then, of course, there is those inside the Trump administration from Gina Haspel to Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo needs to be held accountable. He was the CIA director during the Trump administration. Why didn't he expose all of this stuff? So over the coming days, I'm going to be exposing a lot. Rod Rosenstein, Deputy Attorney General. He was the guy who signed off on all the FISA warrants of Trump allies. He was working in the Trump administration. Chris Wray was the FBI director under President Trump's first administration. Christopher Wray. Do you see all the wolves in the hen house? John Kelly, the chief of staff of President Trump. What did he do? He literally approved all of these deep staters into the Trump administration. H.R. McMaster, National Security Advisor, purged the National Security Council of all America First confidants and close allies of President Trump. He purged them. Every single one of the people I mentioned, Haspel, Pompeo, McMaster, Christopher Wray, you name it, Rosenstein, Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, they all blocked the declassification of the Russian collusion hoax files. They blocked the declassification of that. You tell me who's at fault. So, yeah, we got Comer and Brennan, Comey, excuse me, not James Comer. Obviously, he's a good guy. Comey and Brennan and Clapper and Obama and Biden and Clinton. Yeah, all those people are important. But there were people inside the Trump administration who were just as important. And I vow over the coming days that we will continue to expose them. It is of the utmost importance that, folks, we do that. All right. I'm going to play some of the John Ratcliffe sound coming up here in just a moment. But before I do, I want to tell you about my friends over at the Wellness Company, twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. Two buddies of mine just asked me for the website, twc.health/grant. They needed amoxicillin. They know they had strep throat and they couldn't get the prescription quick enough because it was a Sunday and their doctors were closed. They didn't want to go to a doc in a box. So I said, hey, get one of these kits. You'll have it at home. They'll refill it as you use it. No problem. You keep the kit full. You got the prescription medications for when you need it. They loved the idea. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. And then, folks, do not forget about one of the most important things you can buy from the Wellness Company. And that, of course, is the Parasite Cleanse, mebendazole and ivermectin, anti-parasitics that will clean your body of parasites. This is what you need to do because 60 million Americans have parasites. If you have a pet, you probably have parasites. It's responsible for brain fog. Parasites are responsible for people going crazy. So when I started researching this parasite thing, I'm like, I think I have parasites. The doctors over at the Wellness Company agreed, got me on this course. They said, you know, we're going to take care of this once and for all and get it done. So get yourself a parasite cleanse from the Wellness Company. They've been sold out 3 times. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. I'm going to show you why you want to do this. Do you see this? That's a worm, okay, crawling in a piece of salmon at the grocery store, okay? How gross is that? You eat that crap. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. Get Parasite Cleanse, get the prescription medicine kits, and then all of the supplements on there. You're going to love it. Just peruse the website. You're going to see these are top quality products. All right, so the question becomes, will we ever see indictments? I have been saying I don't think we will, but John Ratcliffe says the opposite. He says, and John Ratcliffe's the director of the CIA, he says we will see indictments, and that he's referred the criminal investigation to Pam Bondi at the DOJ from what he's found inside the Central Intelligence Agency.
Well, Maria, before the intelligence community assessment that DNI Gabbard was talking about, and before Devin Nunes's report about that intelligence community assessment, before the Mueller investigation, before Crossfire Hurricane, there was this. In the summer of 2016, U.S. intelligence intercepted Russian intelligence talking about a Hillary Clinton plan to falsely accuse Donald Trump of Russia collusion, to vilify him and smear him with what would become known infamously as the Steele dossier. And Maria, this intelligence was so explosive that John Brennan briefed President Obama, Vice President Biden, Jim Clapper, James Comey, the entire national security team, telling them about this Hillary Clinton plan. Again, but think about this, Maria. That was in August of 2016, and yet it wasn't until more than 4 years later, in October of 2020, when I found, after an exhaustive search, John Brennan's handwritten notes and the underlying intelligence behind it that revealed exactly what happened. So for a 4-year period of time, the truth about the origins of the Russia collusion hoax was hidden from the American people. And unfortunately, Maria, as you recall, those same people were already at that point in time onto their next hoax, the Hunter Biden laptop. This was a month before the 2020 election. And unfortunately, what we saw with Joe Biden's election was another 4 years to be able to continue to bury the truth. And so it's only now, with Donald Trump having been reelected, that through DNI Gabbard, myself, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, all of this intelligence, all of this evidence that's been hidden and buried from the American people is finally coming to light.
And that's what we want. But more than just coming to light is we want accountability. And so one of the things that Ratcliffe talked about was the idea of statute of limitations. He believes it's not up. Now, we've quoted our good friend Mike Benz, who's a brilliant attorney, and he believes that the statute of limitations does not run out because the conspiracy has continued. I could certainly make the argument that for Comey and Brennan and all their work on MSDNC and the other outrageously leftist media outlets, not to mention the 51 intelligence analysts who tried to work to get Joe Biden elected, claiming Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian intelligence and Russian misinformation. All of those, that was part of the conspiracy. So the statute of limitations is not up. And I like that philosophy because it is a way to get around what you could say is a statute of limitations that have run out. And I believe that he's correct when he makes that assumption. Here he is again.
There is no doubt in my mind that the people that we just talked about conspired. They conspired against President Trump. They conspired against the American people. And so I'll leave it to Pam Bondi and our Department of Justice, Kash Patel, and our FBI to investigate the conspiracy to do what and what charges that they're capable of bringing. But again, I don't think statute of limitations are going to impact, because in a conspiracy, Maria, the statute of limitation doesn't start to run until the last act in furtherance of that conspiracy. And Maria, part of why this is so important is the people behind this are still furthering the conspiracy. They're refusing to admit or acknowledge what they did in 2016 and what they did in 2020 was wrong. And so I think that's why this is so important and why I'm excited about what the American people will see very shortly and what's to continue to come.
Well, Maria Bartiromo does such a great job of getting the real players on. For whatever you say about Fox News, and I don't believe they're always legitimately pro-America, pro-Trump. I really don't. I think you got a lot of hosts that are. But I don't know. I question Fox sometimes. They allow Maria Bartiromo to do her thing, and nobody does it quite like her. She is down and dirty, and she gets into the weeds in such a good way to bring you information. I'm a huge fan of hers. There's probably not many people that top my list above and beyond Maria Bartiromo. You got some great podcasters and TV hosts out there, but she really has done a good job of standing up to the establishment. And John Ratcliffe, what a great quiet warrior. He does not seek out the spotlight. Remember, he was a U.S. attorney in Texas. Then he becomes a congressman. Then he goes and he gets inside the intelligence apparatus for President Trump's first term. Now he's the CIA director. President Trump has an ally inside the CIA. Just as he has an ally inside the FBI with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, allies. So we're now headed in the right direction. This is why this is all starting to come out. And though I'm hopeful that we get some action, I'm not convinced that we will. All right, folks, listen. GrantStinchfield.com is the website, GrantStinchfield.com. That's going to do it for us today. Real America's Voice show tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I hope you tune in to that. We're going to get into this stuff in Cincinnati. You see white people beaten up in the streets. Not everything is always what it seems, but a lot of it is, okay? So I want you to tune into that tonight. We'll talk more on the trade deals. And Vladimir Putin gets a shot across the bow for President Trump. There's a deadline now, and it's not as long as it was. So we'll talk about that as well on Real America's Voice tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. God bless you. Stinchfield's Army rolls. We'll see you soon.